Okay, so simplifying rational expressions. This one will look similar to what we've been doing. They're going to get a little bit harder, um, but this is what we've been doing. So we have 28 divided by 112. Remember, anytime you have numbers like that, if you just type it in your calculator and hit math, enter, enter, it will reduce it for you. So this would become 1 over 4. And then we have x squared divided by x. So that's actually 2x's over 1x. So 1 can cancel in both. So it would be 1x divided by 4, or just x divided by 4. So that's example 1. The next one, if you look, so this is example 2. Is negative 3 x squared plus 1,400 x divided by x. So negative 3x squared plus 1,400x divided by x. The first thing that you always want to look for is you're going to have to simplify. Well, the bottom is obviously simplified because there's only an x. But the top, you need to simplify it. So if you notice, both of those terms on top have an x. So I'm going to factor out an x. That's what we call it. So I'm going to take an x out of both. So we're taking out an x. So then we have negative 3. X times negative 3x would just give you negative 3. So we have to remember to put an x here. So it's negative 3x. And then x times 1,400 would give you 1,400x. Then divide by x. Okay, so just like right here, it was 28 times x squared. That's how we could cancel out the numbers. If there would have been a 28 plus x, you have to, if you want to factor something out or if you want to simplify, it has to be in both terms. So then it would be the x and the x would cancel, so this x and this x would cancel. So your final simplified answer would be negative 3x plus 1,400. Notice we were able to take an x out of both. Now if this problem would have just looked like that, negative 3x squared plus 1,400, I couldn't cancel this x and this x because there's an addition sign. It has to be in both parts to be able to cancel it out. All right. Example 3. So we have x squared plus 5x minus 6 divided by x squared minus 4. Now, if you look at that, there is not an x, there's an x squared in both of them, but since there's an addition sign, I can't mark that out and mark that out. The only reason we could do that up here was because it was multiplication, no addition signs. So on this one, notice there's no term in all of them. There's not an x in every single term on that top. Like this one had an x in both, so that's how I factored out the greatest common factor. This one, if you notice, it's a trinomial. So what we're actually going to have to do is figure out what two things multiplied to get that information. So remember, that's factoring. So we're going to factor this, x squared plus 5x minus 6. And we're also going to factor this. Now this one is a little bit weird. They always, for some reason, throw these on questions like this on tests or on different things. This is a difference of squares. So what that means is there was an x squared There was just a 0x right there. Um, so we're still going to end up having two things that multiply, and then we're going to cancel out one of these sets of parentheses in order to simplify it. Now, if you do not remember how to factor, I'm going to go kind of, not quickly, but I'm going to not do as much explaining as whenever I originally taught factoring. So for today, I did pull the video from October 2nd, and I added it to the bottom of today's stuff. So if you want to go review how to factor, you will need to know how to do that in order to get from this trinomial to the two parentheses that multiplied. So we're going to factor x squared plus 5x minus 6. I'm going to use the box. The leading coefficient is 1, so I'm going to find the factors of 1 times negative 6, which is just negative 6. So the factors of negative 6 are, remember you take 6 and divide by 1, so negative 1 times 6. Then do 2, negative 2 times 3. And since this is negative, you could also have a negative 6 and 1, and you could have a negative 3 and 2. Okay, now I want the one that combines to get a 5x. So 3 minus 2, or negative 2 plus 3, that becomes 1, so that one's out. So that becomes 1. Negative 3 plus 2 would be negative 1, that one's out. Then we have negative 1 plus 6 and negative 6 plus 1. Well, since this term is positive, you need the larger number to be positive. So we need it to be 6 and negative 1. So 6x and negative 1x combine to get that 5x. We know that x squared always goes in the first box, and negative 6 always goes in the last. X times x makes x squared, so our two parentheses we have are x minus 1 and x plus 6. Those are our two factors for the top. Now let's do the bottom. So we have x squared minus 4. Remember there's a 0x right there. Okay, leading coefficient is 1, so it'd be 1 times negative 4. So factors of negative 4, which are, sorry, I have the hiccups, are negative 2 and 2, negative 1 and 4, negative 2 and 2, and negative 4 and 1. Okay, now we need them to combine to get that 0x. So 2 minus 2 is 0, so it would be 2x and negative 2x. So 2 and negative 2, x and x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 2x minus 2x gives you 0. So those are our two factors. And okay, now I did want to show you this one. So normally what would happen is when you're doing these simplify, and sometimes they won't, but normally what will happen is, like if this was an x plus 2, I would mark out x plus 2 and x plus 2, and that would be, I would be left with my answer like that. But this problem didn't actually cancel. But the whole point of this is that you're looking for the two factors that are factors of this expression and this expression that cancel out. So 6 and negative 1 don't cancel with 2 and negative 2. But normally they will. So that is simplifying rational expressions. Remember, if you need to review factoring, then review factoring of trinomials. So that is the second video that you will see. You don't have to watch all of it. Just watch as much as you need, or if you don't even need to, don't watch any of it. Okay?